Chapter 47. Escalation and Fates. The example of the parent. Oh, they were angry now! Bullets followed us as we retreated backwards. A quick hop and descent, allowing Venomous to make short work of one slaver, while the others took a momentary step back before continuing their very persistent attempts to kill us. We had run straight into these guys almost immediately after leaving Cobalt in the security room. I have no idea how many ponies and griffins they'd left behind to try and get to him, but they definitely were giving it their all after us. There was a stack of small crates halfway down the corridor we retreated down. I made sure to grab onto them with my magic as we passed and pull them into a heap between us and the slavers. Their own unicorns instantly started to shove them aside, but it gave us a couple of seconds at least. Something hit my side, and suddenly a massive amount of pain shot through my barrel as I kicked out at whatever the fuck had just gotten the drop on me. I heard a grunt as I wobbled around to face them, seeing a unicorn slaver mare holding a blood-covered machete in her purple aura. My blood. Fucking die! She screeched as she charged me again. I brought around to Venomous and fired, hitting the mare in the chest as she screamed, the acidic magic quickly starting to eat away at her heart. There are more coming down the hallway ahead. Cobalt's voice came in over a nearby wall-mounted speaker. Duck into the door to your left, go around. My vision was swimming in red bars, the slavers behind us already having broken through my impromptu barricade, while at least 5 other slavers ahead of us charged forwards. All right, Cobalt had a fair point. I fired a couple of shots at the encroaching slavers as I hit the nearby button to open up the door Cobalt had pointed out, a crack of Xena's rifle causing another bar to blink out while we all piled in. Shutting the door quickly behind me, I noted that we had ended up in some kind of break room. There were several tables and vending machines around us. As much as my heart yearned for the Sparkle Cola vendor in particular, I decided to yank all I could toward the door to delay our pursuers as we bolted through the dorm and out of an opposing door. Getting out of there as the slaver tried to break through the mess that I'd gifted them, we found ourselves back in another corridor disconnected from the first. Keep going, Cobalt's disembodied voice commanded. So we moved, briskly moving up the corridor before a gigantic screech caught our attention. Right behind us, a huge slab of metal slammed down and proceeded to block off the entire hallway behind us, including the door to the break room. The red bars were still present, but suddenly everything went quiet. One of the security doors I got control of. It'll take them a little while to force it open, Cobalt explained from yet another intercom, which I wandered over to reply into. You all doing okay? Never better, I snarked him. What about you? And Ultrix? They're banging on my door, but it's holding for the moment, he answered worriedly. I'm looking at Ultrix on the cameras now. They haven't found her yet, so that's good. I nodded, assuming he could see it from whatever camera he was watching right then. I turned to look at my friends, Moonblossom sporting a few new scratches and bruises from where she had scuffled with a griffin, while Xena was already tending to a few grazes she had taken from stray bullets. And it was then my adrenaline lowered enough for me to remember the great damned gash in my side. My pitbuck was complaining quite heavily as I winced at the trickle of blood hitting the floor. The machete had cut its way right through a piece of my barding that had already taken the strain of a couple small caliber bullets, finally giving up the ghost and coming loose. I retrieved a healing potion and quickly got the bloody thing to heal up, but I was still left with some significant bruising. I'm not sure my armor was going to last all that long under this kind of pressure. Thus far, it was keeping most of their smaller bullets from ripping my organs to shreds, but what happens when they bring out something a little bigger? Unfortunately, stopping for suit maintenance wasn't an option right now. We need to keep moving, Xena said as she finished tending to her own minor wounds. It'll not be long before another group finds us. Yeah, and you're looking a bit fucked up there, Moonblossom remarked. We don't have all tricks around to patch up the really bad things, remember? Don't remind me. There's another security station a little bit ahead of you, Cobalt reported. It might be a good place to look for extra supplies, but don't stick around for too long. That alicorn is roaming around taking out any camera she comes across. Tracking her is becoming difficult. Oh, wonderful. We kept moving forward, my eyes peeled for any movement on the eyes forward sparkle that could be close. It was hard to tell, but as we got further away from the sealed hallway, several of them started to drop off and vanish. I would take that as a good sign. They would have to find another way around to us while Cobalt continued to dick with them in any way he could. We came up to a junction that led off in 4 directions. The way to our right had already been blocked off by another security door. The left corridor was signed as leading to some medical labs, but as much as extra healing potions couldn't hurt, we were pressed for time. That left us with the option to forge on directly ahead. There were a few more rooms dotted around us as we progressed down the corridor. They mostly appeared to be locker rooms and some showers, everything a security division might need for their health and hygiene. We had to be getting close to the next security room that Cobalt had mentioned, and I also knew that we were getting closer and closer to the central chamber that this whole place was based around. I remember hearing an old pre-war phrase. What was it? Out of the frying pan and into the fire? Well, there was never a frying pan. We're in the fire now, but for some reason we're heading deeper and deeper inside until we reach the molten core. A bit melodramatic? Well, I'm in that sort of mood. A couple of new red bars appeared as the corridor curved, and ahead of us an open door came into view marked as Security Station Alpha. 2 griffins immediately saw us. Panicked shots pinged around us as I improvised, ripping up some of the floor grating and holding it ahead of me as something of a shield. Yes, being grating, it was filled with holes, but it was better than nothing. There was a loud bang, and the corner of the grating was peeled away. Okay, less so when one of them has a shotgun. Lock them out! We have them pinned! One of the griffins shouted, making the mistake of diverting his attention just long enough for Moonblossom to shoot forwards and toward the duo. Even as the shotgun-wielding slaver turned back with wide eyes at the incoming Pegasus-shaped projectile, the second griffin was bringing up his own gun at my friend. I let Venomous free at the same time that Xena poked her head around the corner and took aim. My shot hit his gun. Xena's round pierced through his torso. He'd fired before either occurred. A small spray of bullets went wide and straight through Moon's wing, my stomach tightening as the mare shouted and fell forwards with her momentum. She still hit her target. She cussed and yelled as she dragged the unfortunate slaver out of the doorway, Xena and I running forward as our friend started to angrily wail on the griffin. We passed them by, bursting into the room as I engaged in descent once more. The disarmed griffin limping toward a pistol on a nearby table, a pony working the security console in the midst of turning around with a battle saddle primed and ready with dual assault rifles. Xena was already bringing her rifle toward the ladder, so I targeted the griffin before he could retrieve his weapon. Time continued, and everything happened within the span of a second. Xena's rifle echoed loudly around the room as I fired 2 bolts of magic from my own rifle. Both of my shots hit the griffin right in the back, and he barely made a sound as he lifelessly fell forwards with the changeling magic eating away at his spine through the metal barding, both of his wings quickly melting free from his back. I turned to see several of the security monitors splattered with the other Earth Pony's blood, the slaver's corpse having slumped back over the console. Moonblossom trudged in, muttering under her breath as she dragged her damaged wing behind her. You all right? I asked, retrieving and offering a healing potion. Fantastic, she deadpanned, but nevertheless accepted the potion with a thankful nod. Let us not stay long. We're using up our supplies quickly, Xena noted with worry. How much farther until we find this guy? Moonblossom asked, grimacing as her wings started to pop and twist as it repaired itself. It was quickly back to being flight-worthy, but there was a noticeable patch of missing feathers. I'm starting to hate this place. You and me both, Moon. Not far, I hope. Come on, let's see what this place has. We had to be quick. Who knew how many more slavers were already making a beeline for us? I was thankful they wouldn't know exactly where we were since Cobalt was the one with the security cameras, but still. I moved toward the console as the others started hurriedly rifling through the lockers. I glanced at the slaver, pulling his body away from the console and to the floor. There didn't seem to be anything of particular interest nestled around the various buttons and terminal screens. A pack of cigarettes I could maybe sell once all this was done. An empty coffee mug, yeah, that was about it. Then the screen above all started to light up. Guys, I'm remotely accessing your station and patching in the camera feeds. Cobalt's voice informed us. There's something you need to see. Now. Cobalt? I asked, a question in my voice. I'm now finishing up with the security lockout, but I think they're on to us, Cobalt reported. I'm seeing a lot of movement heading towards Ultrix. At that moment, my heart stopped, and I felt my entire soul begin to sink. She was alone. We had left her alone. I'm patching you in now. The screen in the center blinked and switched to a scene of the warehouse entranceway. I saw Ultrix standing nervously by the booth, unaware about what was coming. Ultrix! I shouted, hoping a microphone attached to the console was picking me up. I saw her look around in confusion. Scrap? It worked. Xena and Moon trotted over toward me, also looking up at the screen. Ultrix retreated inside the booth, standing by the console. Ultrix, listen to me, Cobalt began. I'm finishing up the lockdown release. By the looks of it, that should open both the large security door ahead of you and several other ways in and outside inside the warehouse. There are large cargo elevators hidden on the surface that you can lead your hive to if you follow the conveyors. It's hard to miss. She bit her lip. Okay, got it. Tell me when. Ultrix, you have slavers coming for you. You must be ready, Xena warned urgently. Her eyes widened. What? Guys, I can't. Forget that. I'm releasing the lockdown now, Cobalt announced victoriously. Open that damned thing and get the fuck out of there. I saw her nod, the changeling quickly hitting the appropriate controls. An alarm started to sound, not dissimilar from that of a stable door. It sounded, and it continued to sound. Oh, fuck. Why isn't it opening? Moonblossom suddenly blurted out, sharing in our sudden panic. Did you hit the right button? Yes, I did, Ultrix confirmed. Guys? Damn it. The door is held in place with several separate magnetic locks. The system is disabling them one at a time. It's Ultrix! I could only watch as the smaller door leading into the entranceway opened up, and the first few slavers charged in. Bullets instantly started flying, and I heard Ultrix yelp as she ducked down. Ultrix, you need to defend yourself, I tried to tell her, hoping my fear wasn't coming through in my voice. The pistol I gave you. You can do this, Xena encouraged. You're very close. We know you can achieve this. Kick their asses, kid, Moonblossom added. Come on, girl, you can... We all jumped at a sudden burst of static, our eyes widening at our view on the camera. They'd shot out the speaker. Now we could only watch. Ultrix remained ducked down behind the small metal wall beneath one of the booth's windows, as one of the three present slavers rushed forward, the Griffin shouting angrily as he charged straight at the door. He burst in, standing over Ultrix. There was a gunshot. The slaver collapsed into a lifeless heap. My little 9mm pistol was smoking in Ultrix's green magical grip, her eyes wide, even as the other two slavers cursed and started to push. Ultrix looked up and over the wall, straight through the already shattered window, as she lifted my pistol and fired. The nearest slaver was hit twice, falling to the floor and shouting in pain from his injuries. He was not dead, but he laid there unable to act as blood started to pour from one of the bullets that had seemingly bypassed his armor and embedded itself into his armpit. The door started to open, the great metal thing beginning to rise upward to unleash the hive within. And then more slavers arrived. Ultrix saw them, ducking back to avoid another influx of gunfire after launching a glob of green spit at them. It hit another slaver, a unicorn, sealing her horn and rendering her magic useless. Even as the changeling ducked, my pistol remained in place and fired several more rounds at the group of now 5 slavers if you were to include the injured griffin. But even as more bullets hit their mark, most were absorbed by their barding, while others went wide due to not being aimed. Only one actually made it into flesh, biting into the shoulder of yet another pony. Ultrix lifted herself up, looking to make a more precise attack. And then we all saw the griffin that emerged through the door, leading yet another group of arriving slavers. The numbers alone were already terrifyingly overwhelming, jumping from 3 capable fighters to 8. But with the door barely even an inch off the ground and the centuries-old gears started to work, I realized with a breaking heart that this griffin was in full power armor. They had her cornered, outnumbered, outgunned, saved only by a single piece of cover between her and them. The griffin looked straight at Ultrix as she saw him. A red beam was fired, streaking through the air. Ultrix was hit. My gun was knocked from her grasp, falling out of the window and to the floor. And then, as if for added insult, a second red energy beam was shot into my oldest companion and shattered the gun's frames into multiple fragments. What could we do? There was everything we wanted to do. Even in the corners of my eyes, I could see the sheer horror and terror on my friends' faces. On my own face. We had left her there, and now I could only watch as she struggled on the ground, a large burn on top of her partially melted chitin. Ultrix, our friend, cried out in pain as the slavers continued their approach, unopposed and out of danger. Ultrix looked up at the camera as the first few slavers prepared to step into the booth, weapons raised and ready to finish the helpless changeling. And with her gone, nothing could stop them from simply lowering the door again. And then, as my eyes burned with water and regret, she smiled. Ultrix smiled. There was a flash of green, and suddenly the booth all but exploded as a manticore swiped away some of the slavers with its scorpion tail, turning towards the others with one last defiant roar. They opened fire. Bullets bit straight into Ultrix's newfound hide, and I could only watch dumbstruck as she whipped her tail around and impaled one of the scattered slavers, leaping forwards and crushing a second beneath her claws. Out in the open, and confronted with a changeling inheriting the power of such a mighty beast, the slavers started to circle to keep firing for dear life. She was covered in holes and lesions, and yet through sheer force of will, Ultrix pounced once again, right into the power armor-clad griffin. Her claws ripped into the armor, the griffin struggling to break free, even as their helmet and part of their chest plate was ripped free. Ultrix's tail struck forward, the stinger finding its target 1, 2, 3 times. The door's mechanisms finally seemed to kick into gear, starting to rise at a rapid pace as hundreds of blue eyes all started to appear beyond the entranceway. Countless changelings all came into view, standing there in their stable jumpsuits with shocked expressions at the sight that awaited them. The slavers stopped firing, determination becoming fear as they saw the horde before them. Ultrix turned, regarding her people for a wonderful, victorious moment. They were free. They would soon be safe. And then, with what little strength she had left failing, she collapsed. Green flames rippled around the manticore and reformed the young changeling doctor I had the privilege of getting to know. She laid there, a pool of blood starting to form around her from her many wounds. Her eyes were still open, those wonderful, bright glowing orbs still looking at the hive she loved so much. But they were still. I couldn't comprehend it. Couldn't accept it inside any form of reality. This wasn't meant to. This couldn't happen. She couldn't. But despite everything I wanted to believe instead, despite all I inwardly screamed and pleaded from inside the depths of my heart, my tear-filled eyes could not deny the truth in front of me, no matter how badly it hurt. Ultrix was dead. And with that universal recognition, all hell was about to break loose. Those hundreds of eyes all turned towards the slavers who had so mercilessly cut my friend down, a member of their hive, giving her life for the hive. Their wings buzzed, and with them their horns all began to light. Fuck them up. The hive sprang into motion, an uncountable number of changelings all charging forwards as one single, undefeatable swarm. Even as the slavers opened fire and murdered several, a dozen more would replace the one as they enveloped the slavers within seconds. Their screams were only momentary. I will attempt to guide them out from here. Cobalt's tired voice came in over the intercom. Just get to Kronos. Give him a bullet from me. My own legs finally gave out, and I fell back onto my rump as my whole body violently shook. I wiped a hoof across my face, trying to clear my eyes as I looked between my friends. Xena looked much how I imagined I did, tears streaming down her face as she closed her eyes and took several deep breaths. Moonblossom, meanwhile, only had a couple of small stray tears as she stared at the monitor with the most rage-filled expression I had ever seen in my life. Her hoof struck forwards, smashing one of the screens as she let off a shout. Even with glass sticking out of her purple hoof, she rounded and stormed away. I looked back up at the camera feed, seeing the changelings thinning out while a couple started picking up their dead. 3 were looking down at Ultrix, a stable security guard whispering something to one of the dwellers before he knelt down and got help in depositing her body onto his back. He then picked up a stray gun with his magic and vanished from view. No changeling left behind. Come, Xena whispered gently into my ear, helping me stand back up. There's still one more to save. In cities. Ultrix would want us to finish this fight, to save the princess above all else. And I'm sure she'll be willing to help us tear Kronos a new one. We left the room, the monitors blinking out as we did so. We remained silent, though it almost felt like we understood each other anyway. We knew what we had to do. There would be time to mourn later. We were coming for you, Kronos.